Now, one way to present your polished up pictures in an attractive way is to use borders. And a quick way of adding a border to a shot is to use the effects palette here. And you'll see that there's a variety of bevels you could choose. If you just click on one of those and drag and drop it to the image, you'll first notice that you have to convert the depth from 16 bits, because it was a raw file, back down to 8 bits. So just click Convert Depth, click OK to turn the background layer into a floating and editable layer, and click OK again one more time, and there you have an editable layer. So now we can just drag these effects onto here to create beveled edges, and that's not very noticeable. Let's try this one here. Yeah, it's a little bit more subtle. You can see around the edge there you've got a noticeable bevel, and you can edit that of course by clicking on Effects and then just increasing the size to make it look like a canvas frame. Now, one of those canvas frames you can get printed and delivered to your home. Now what we can do, as well as creating a 3D effect around the edge of our shot, is we can also give it a bit of drop shadow to make it stand out even more, as if it's hanging on a wall. So let's just click OK for the moment, and what we need to do is give it a little bit more space around the edges, and to do that we need to go to Image, Resize, and Canvas Size. And then what we can do is just increase it by a percentage value. So something like 120 should do the trick for both the height and the width. Hit return, and then go to Fit Screen, and you'll see now we've got a little bit extra around the edge of the shot. So what we can do now is create a new layer for our background. Let's drag that behind the main layer. Let's hit Tab to get the floating window up. Make sure you've got a white foreground color. You can click here if you don't to swap it round, and then go to Edit, Fill Layer, and use foreground color as the contents. Click OK, and that gives you a nice clean background. What I'll do is just hit Tab to hide the floating window. I'll also just drag the palette down here to close the bin. And now we've got a nice white canvas there. You can see the drop shadow that comes with the bevel is much more noticeable. We can fine-tune that by dragging other drop shadows onto the image as well. Drag and drop, and you've got a much more noticeable drop shadow effect there that makes the whole image stand out much more. And you can fine-tune that of course by double-clicking on Effects and tweaking the size, the distance, and the opacity of the drop shadow. So let's maybe take that down a little bit more just to make it slightly more subtle. And that drop shadow is also coming in the same direction as the lighting from the beveled edge, so you've got a nice consistency there as well. And let's just make it a little bit harder. There we go, that's a bit too hard, so let's go for a little bit of a more diffuse looking light, something like that, and then let's take distance down a little bit to make it a little bit more subtle. Maybe bump up size a wee bit more just to help blend with the original shadow there from the beveled edge. Okay, so that is a nice way of making your photographs stand out from the crowd. Click OK when you're happy with the edits, and of course you can change that at any time by double clicking on the effects icon.